Imagine being told that before stepping fully into royal life, you should change the spelling of your own name. Not your title. Not your wardrobe. Not your schedule. Your name. For Kate Middleton, the woman who would eventually become the Princess of Wales, that reportedly became the subject of an unusual royal request. And according to royal biographer Christopher Andersen, Prince William was absolutely furious about it. The story has resurfaced following reports about Andersen's new biography, Kate. The courage, grace, and power of the woman who will be queen. According to the book, the issue centered on something that might sound incredibly small, one single letter. Katherine. The name she had been given by her parents. The name she had carried throughout her life. The name the world had already begun to associate with William's future wife. But according to Andersen, there was a suggestion that Katherine should become Katherine, with a K. And the reason reportedly had less to do with Katherine herself and more to do with royal branding, monograms, and the letter C. At the time surrounding William and Katherine's marriage, Charles and Camilla already had royal monograms built around the letter C. Andersen claims they were concerned that another prominent royal C would create confusion or simply be too much. The idea was reportedly that changing Katherine to Katherine would solve the problem. On paper, it may have sounded like a simple branding decision. But to William, it reportedly felt like something much more personal. According to Andersen, William considered the suggestion insulting, not just to Katherine, but to her entire family. And that reaction tells us something important about how William viewed his relationship with Katherine. This was not simply a disagreement over spelling. For Katherine, her name represented her identity. She had been Katherine Elizabeth Middleton long before she became the wife of a future king. Before the titles, the palaces, the official appearances, and the enormous public attention, she was simply Katherine. And although the public had become accustomed to calling her Kate, her formal name remained Katherine. The proposal reportedly suggested that because she was entering the royal family, even that could be adjusted. And William apparently wasn't willing to accept it. According to Andersen's account, the future king pushed back on the idea and responded on his wife's behalf. The reported conflict is particularly interesting because William and Katherine had already spent years building their relationship before their wedding. They first met at university and began dating in the early 2000s. Their relationship was closely watched by the British public, and although they briefly separated in 2007, they eventually reunited. Then came the moment millions of people had been waiting for. On April 29, 2011, Kate Middleton married Prince William at Westminster Abbey. It was one of the biggest royal weddings of the modern era. The world watched as Katherine walked down the aisle and officially entered the royal family. Following the wedding, Queen Elizabeth II bestowed new titles upon the couple, making them the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. Katherine was no longer simply Kate Middleton. She was officially Katherine, Duchess of Cambridge. And years later, she would become Katherine, Princess of Wales. But according to Andersen's account, even before that royal journey had fully begun, there was already an attempt to modify something deeply connected to her identity. And William reportedly wasn't having it. The story becomes even more fascinating because the name change claim isn't appearing for the first time in 2026. Prince Harry also previously referred to the incident in his 2023 memoir, Spare. According to reports about Harry's account, he remembered that Charles and Camilla had wanted Kate to change the spelling of her name because there were already two royal ciphers featuring a C beneath a crown. The proposed solution: change Katherine to Katherine. That means the unusual story has appeared in more than one account, although the details and interpretations surrounding it remain claims made in books rather than an official statement from the royal family. And that distinction matters. There has been no official confirmation from Buckingham Palace or Kensington Palace that the conversation happened exactly as described. A Kensington Palace spokesperson reportedly declined to comment on the claims. So this is not a story that should be presented as an established fact. It is a reported account from royal biographies and recollections. But if Andersen's description is accurate, the disagreement reveals something much bigger than a single letter. It highlights the tension between royal tradition and personal identity. The monarchy is an institution built around symbolism. Names matter. Titles matter. Initials matter. Monograms matter. Even the smallest visual details can become part of the royal brand. Charles and Camilla's concern, according to Andersen, was that multiple royal C monograms could create confusion. But William apparently saw the issue differently. To him, Katherine and changing the spelling of her name for the sake of a monogram reportedly crossed a line. That is why the phrase "gone to war" for Kate has attracted so much attention. It suggests a pattern rather than a single argument. Andersen has described William as being protective of Katherine throughout their relationship, particularly when it came to her safety and treatment by the media. One of the most famous examples came in 2012, when photographs of Katherine sunbathing privately were published by a French magazine. William was reportedly furious about the invasion of his wife's privacy. According to Andersen, he wanted palace lawyers to take legal action. The incident demonstrated how intensely William could react when he believed Katherine's privacy or dignity had been violated. The name controversy, if accurately described, fits into a similar picture. William wasn't necessarily fighting over the spelling of a name. He was reportedly fighting against the idea that Katherine should have to change part of herself simply to make royal life more convenient. And there is another interesting detail. Katherine ultimately remained Katherine. The proposed change to Katherine did not happen. She did not adopt the K spelling. Her official name continued to be Katherine. And today, the woman once known around the world as Kate Middleton is formally Katherine, Princess of Wales. That makes the entire episode seem almost surreal. Imagine how different history might look if the proposal had been accepted. Instead of Katherine, Princess of Wales, the world might have known her as Katherine, Princess of Wales. The difference would have been just one letter. But symbolically, it could have represented something much larger. It would have meant that one of the world's most recognizable women changed the spelling of her given name because of an institutional concern. And according to the reports, William didn't want that to happen. The story also gives another glimpse into the relationship between William and Katherine. Their public image has often been defined by calmness, restraint, and professionalism. They rarely reveal intimate details about their marriage. They don't usually discuss private disagreements. They have built their public roles around duty. But behind that polished image, accounts like this suggest that William can be extremely protective of Katherine when he believes she is being treated unfairly. And Katherine herself has continued to maintain a remarkably consistent public identity. She is Katherine. She is also Kate to millions of people. And neither title nor royal protocol has erased the identity she had before she entered the monarchy. That may be the most interesting part of this entire story. Because the controversy wasn't really about Katherine versus Katherine. It was about whether becoming royal meant giving up another piece of yourself. For Katherine, the answer appears to have been no. And for William, according to Andersen's account, that answer was worth defending. There is also a fascinating irony here. The royal family has spent centuries turning names, initials, and symbols into powerful pieces of tradition. But the woman who would one day stand beside the future king reportedly refused to let a single letter redefine who she was. And William's reported reaction made the disagreement even more significant. He could have simply accepted the suggestion. He could have considered it another harmless royal adjustment. Instead, Andersen claims he pushed back strongly. He reportedly believed that asking Katherine to alter her name was disrespectful. And ultimately, the change never happened. Katherine remained Katherine. The royal monogram issue disappeared into the background. And life moved on. The couple built their family, welcomed Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, and continued taking on increasingly important responsibilities within the monarchy. Today, Katherine's role is vastly different from the young woman who first married William in 2011. She is now one of the most recognizable members of the British royal family and the future queen consort. Yet her name remains exactly as it was. Katherine. One letter survived the pressure of royal branding. And perhaps that is why this old story continues to attract attention. Because beneath all the crowns, palaces, and ceremonial traditions, it is ultimately a very human story. A woman was reportedly asked to change something about herself. Her husband reportedly said no. And years later, the name Katherine remains exactly where it started. Of course, it is important to remember that the strongest details of this story come from Christopher Andersen's book and other reports discussing the claim. The palace has not publicly confirmed the conversation, so viewers should treat the reported exchange as an allegation rather than a proven behind-the-scenes fact. But whether every detail happened exactly as described or not, the story has become another fascinating chapter in the long and complicated journey of Katherine and William. A journey that began with two university students. A journey that survived a breakup. A journey that led to one of the world's most famous weddings. And eventually, a future king and queen building their life together in the public eye. And perhaps the simplest ending to this story is also the most powerful. They wanted Katherine to become Katherine. She remained Katherine. And according to the account, William made sure everyone understood exactly why. Neon Narration. If you enjoy dramatic royal stories like this, make sure you subscribe, because there are always more hidden moments behind the headlines waiting to be uncovered.